Lord Jeffrey Archer is like one of his own works of fiction. I mean, what a story. The son of a fraudster, rising fast to become deputy chairman of Britain's Conservative Party and then an MP, but then jailed for lying about paying off a prostitute and then going broke. But a man of honour, promising to repay every penny, which he did by writing thrillers, 44 books in all that have sold more than 300 million copies. The latest is out now, An Eye for an Eye, which involves art forgery, among other things, which Archer researched by getting a famous forger to fake a Rembrandt etching. I spoke earlier to Jeffrey Archer in London. Lord Archer, what a pleasure to see you. 44 books. I haven't finished this last one. I particularly like your reading of the first chapter. But you have clearly not lost your touch. What suggested this particular plot to you?
Well, the secret this time was that I found out that Thomas Jefferson, the great American president, actually wrote a copy of the Declaration of Independence while he was in Paris. And he sent it to a friend of his, an English member of parliament called Mr. Hartley. And it has been missing ever since. And if it was found, it would be worth $100 million. So there's a great hunt out for it at the moment. But that's the secret, because Miles Faulkner, the wicked Miles Faulkner, discovers where it is.
Well, terrific. But the thing is here, when I'm reading a book of yours, right, I'm thinking now the world seems so unhinged. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a bit older. So unhinged now that I don't think even you could write plots sometimes as amazing. And I want to give you one to test you that's from the papers just last week. Your Labor government decided to give away strategic islands in the Indian Ocean that Britain has owned for 200 years plus. And they've got a critical naval base on them. It's given them away to Mauritius, 2,000 kilometres away, a poor country that's getting close to China. It's like an act of high treason, and the mystery, Jeffrey Archer, is why. Could you have dreamed of that one?
Absolute lunacy. I don't know what we're playing at or what this Labour government is playing at. That was an act of piracy, nothing less. And indeed, the British people are not pleased about it. But your point is a good one. If you wrote stories about what's happening in the world at the moment, with what's happening in England, but equally interesting in the United States, what's happening with Trump and Harris, I wouldn't get away with it. No one would believe me. A fact has become far more fiction than fiction.
I know. I mean, one of your books might have said 1 assassination attempt in the election campaign, but 2? Come on, pull it back. Look, I just wonder, though, I wonder whether your novels are even more compulsory reading now, because this seems to be an age without heroes. I mean, at least in the English-speaking West. I mean, you've got your Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. I mean, seriously, you've got Joe Biden, you've got Justin Trudeau in Canada, and our Anthony Albanese. And you, though, were in politics in the age of Thatcher and Reagan. So have you asked yourself, what on earth has happened?
Yes, I do, because I have, as you rightly, kindly pointed out, the great privilege of serving Margaret Thatcher for 13 years. And when she was Prime Minister, Douglas Hurd was Foreign Secretary, and Michael Heseltine was Deputy Prime Minister. And you thought you were in safe hands. You realized you were with competent people. And you look around the world today and you wonder how it can be possible that we have a president of the United States who seems to be completely out of touch, a candidate for the Republican Party who is just not even ridiculous. He would be fatal for our country if he became, and it wouldn't help Australia either. And you have in Britain a situation where the pay is so bad and members of parliament are treated so badly that no one wants to be a member of parliament today. When I first entered the House 60 years ago as a young member of parliament, aged 29, members of parliament were held in respect and were treated with some degree of almost awe But nowadays, they are treated, because of TikTok, because of social media, because of the whole thing we now live in, are treated, I would say, bad. And now I'm outside badly.
Well, I wonder whether you're right about the pay being so bad. Maybe that explains why your poor Prime Minister had to go and accept gifts of $100,000 so he could be dressed in public. I mean, it's so extraordinary how low the standards have fallen.
Well, I think what happened there, and I've tried very hard to analyse it, is you suddenly got a group of Labour members of Parliament who've been out of power for 14 years, and one particular member of the House of Lords started lavishing gifts on them, including suits, spectacles, trips abroad, staying in wonderful hotels and penthouses. And I think they rather took to that. And I can't 100% blame them. It took them by surprise. But if they'd had someone in charge at number 10 or earlier, they would have spotted it and said, you can't do that. The public may not understand which missiles are going from Israel into Iran or from Iran into Israel. But they do understand when someone accepts free suits, free trips, free holidays that they've never had before.
Just take you up on Donald Trump. I understand, totally uncouth, totally unpredictable. I hate his position on Ukraine. Whether he'll actually do that if he wins office is another matter. But at least the tyrants of this world are afraid of him. They wouldn't be afraid of Kamala Harris. So that's why I wonder why you have said that you'd actually vote for Kamala Harris if you were American. Because isn't that going to be a vote for America's decline?
I'll answer that very honestly. I wouldn't vote for either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. I would have gone for Nikki Haley, the former governor of North Carolina and ambassador to the United Nations. I thought she was a class act, and at last America would have a class president. Now, if you're asking the cruel question, who do I think, as an Englishman sitting on the outside, fascinated, will win? I'm bound to say, sitting here at this moment, I think Donald Trump will win. Well,
it depends. On the other side of the spectrum, I fear he might lose. But I think you might be right. But gee, it's going to be popcorn time on the night, watching the results come in.
Now, let me tell you something about that, young man. Let me tell you something about that. November the 5th is the day, as you will remember. We've only 27 days to go before the election. Watch carefully one particular thing almost everybody missed at the last election. When the ballot closes, it looked as if Trump had beaten Biden, but it's the postal vote that matters nowadays, because the postal vote is 2/3 of the vote. So I'm warning you, Australians, when you see the result and they give you at the end, as they always do, the result after the polls have closed, watch it carefully, because it may not be the result. You will have to wait for the postal ballot before you know who is the next president of the United States.
I suspect you're right, although this time it won't be held in the COVID pandemic, so there may be more people who would not be voting by mail. We're yet to see. But your own government, I don't know if I've ever seen one that became so unpopular in just 100 days. I mean, have you seen that before?
Well, do you know, when Tony Blair won the election, he went into the first year with a plus 49% popularity. And our Conservative leader said he couldn't lay a glove on him because he was so popular. This present Prime Minister went in about 4% popular, despite winning by over 100. He then fell to -16. He's now -30 after only 6 weeks. The answer to your question is, I've never known anything like it.
Lord Archer, thank you so much indeed for your time. I really love that. And viewers, An Eye for an Eye is available now in all good bookshops. And you know my favourite is Robinson's Books. You go to the website, you look at the top left of the screen, and there you will see my recommendations. What a fun man to talk to. He says he'll come back for the US election to talk to us here. Let's hope. Also, on that Robinson Bookshop website, you can see all my past recommendations too, so check it out.